Hey everyone, how's it going? Octopus here and welcome back to evercrisis. We're going to be talking about the new Final Fantasy 9 banner that just dropped with Cait Sith AoE buffing weapon. Quickly, again, anniversary so close by, I wouldn't risk it. From what we know and what we are all predicting what's going to be happening, a lot of things are going to be changing. There is going to be better things than this. Doesn't mean that this stuff is bad. I'm going to go over why it's good, where it belongs and all that. But really, even if you're new, even if you're close to OB6 and all that or more, I would still hold off. Even Kuja Blade and Kuja Costume, it's fantastic, but it's not necessary. And I'll explain all that in the video. So quickly, you can skip. You're safe. Don't worry. If you pull, you're still safe. But I recommend skipping just because anniversary around the corner. Besides that, if it wasn't your anniversary, we'd have like a really deep conversation about these. So instead of a deep conversation, let me explain currently what's happening and why it's okay that you're not going to get this. And if you do get it, it's still okay. But off with the costumes, they did update Garnet's gown. It has boost HP plus 15. I kind of wish they gave plus 15 to heal over there. It would make it a little bit more viable. But both of these are not super necessary. HP these days, as a healer, you can't heal 15,000 HP. It doesn't make any sense to keep maximizing your HP to 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 if the healer can only heal like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. It would take multiple casts of healing, and by the time you heal all that HP, you're pretty much going to be in a bad place. I prefer defense because if you do put a lot of defense on the team, especially with the new guild weapons and high win combination, you can take hits that would do like 12,000 more and bring it all the way down to like 6,000 or less. So having more than 10,000 HP is almost not necessary these days with how much defense we can increase. It's still a viable stat. It's not bad, but you can see how that now that we can go defensive, we don't need this. So that's one stat, isn't super important. Boost heal, yes, healing's important. The more heal you have, the better, especially when we start drifting into a regen. Instead of going for a full AoE Cura or something like that, I think regen is going to be really good once we have our defenses at a high place. A little bit of HP, around like 10,000, regen's going to tick very nice. But overall, boost HP plus 15, that's the new thing that got updated. I think that if you have the Monster Hunter costume, stick to the Monster Hunter costume. If you don't, this is like her top 3 for healing, right? We got the free one from gear vouchers, we got this one, and then we have the Monster Hunter one. And besides that is the Garnet Rod. Garnet Rod got an update. The only thing that changed, it's now 3 ATB. So what does this mean for healing Aerith or DPS Aerith, which I think fits the bill a little bit better? When it comes to healing Aerith, this can work, right? For 3 ATB, you raise your allies' magic attack by mid to high, apply regen, and give a heal while having survivability and boost ability potency. So you can see how this is more towards a DPS Aerith than it is a healing Aerith, because that ability potency won't be used at all when it comes to her healing kit. It's not going to help you survive. It's not going to help you do more buff duration, right? So this is leaning towards a DPS Aerith. Just like any weapon that Cloud has, his Monster Hunter weapon, Final Fantasy 9, Tifa's weapon, the Emerald Claws, she self-buffs, Inobi for Sephiroth. Garnet Rod is very powerful in the sense that now costs 1 ATB less to self-buff, but you're also applying a regen and a heal, and you're giving yourself a little bit of DPS with survivability, so it works out pretty nicely. Is it the best one out of all the buffing weapons for a DPS? I would say the stats over here, if the R abilities were different, I would definitely praise this better. Still, magic attack up, self-buffing is very powerful. Enemy can't stop you, right? They can't be immune to you buffing yourself unless they have some kind of effect. So unlike lowering the enemy's defense, they can be immune to defense, so you lose damage there. You can always buff yourself. So self-buffing weapons, on my opinion, is always super powerful and really good to have. But we're leaning to a meta where we have AoE buffing now, and AoE buffing with raising our defenses. So when it comes to self-buffing weapons, it isn't as necessary as it was when Final Fantasy 9 collaboration first came out. So the fact that they didn't update this into an AoE, right? It could have just been AoE by itself, nothing else special to it, and that would have made it actually very good, right? But the fact that it's 3 ATB for a single target buff, it could be anyone on the team, applies regen and heal, it leans between a DPS weapon and a healing weapon, but not the perfect one you want. And it will come in handy and it will do good. Giving your main DPS on the team as a healer full magic attack up in one cast and healing them and regen is really strong, right? But it's not super great because there's no all cure in the back, so it's hard to mix match more weapons. Aerith does have a lot of all cure on her ice weapon, her floral wand, right? A lot of her weapons have all cure already, so it's not necessary for Garnet Rod to have it, but it would make it more of a healing weapon if that happened. And that's what I mean. It's not lean towards healing and it's not fully lean towards DPS. It's kind of stuck in between, not having the materia slot there and not having the proper R abilities for either of them. So altogether, I think it is a very solid weapon. It can be used in the right places, but it isn't going to be necessary for you to spend limited banner crystals, meaning you got to go either 3 stamps in for just 1 copy, which gives magic attack mid to high at least. So it is worth at least 1 copy, but what if it takes you 3 pulls? That's 9,000 blue crystals towards anniversary. So as much as I love the Garnet setup, I do believe it is easy to skip. If you have it, it's very easy to use as well. 3 ATB buffing is really good, especially when it's on a DPS character. All right, next up we got Sephiroth's Kuja setup. Now, again, HP, to me, it is, like, don't get me wrong when I say HP isn't as necessary. Like, if you don't have defense up and you have a lot of HP, it'll still work out. It just works better if you raise your defense, especially when it comes to the critical stuff. You have to have like 200 defense of either physical or magic, right? So boost HP, it is a good stat. It just, we can lean away from it when it comes to stuff like this. So we did get plus 5 points on both of these R abilities. That's the buff this costume got. But it isn't a mastery in arcanum, meaning it's not standalone. It is stacked with your weapon R abilities. And because of that, these two things become dead stats because your weapons can do it better. Look at your character in a sense of 6 slots to increase damage. 5 slots for weapons, 2 in the front, 3 in the back, and 1 costume. You mix and match all that together to get the best R abilities to increase your damage and survivability. Your costume is only applying 15 points into healing and boost magic 15 points, which is 30%, right? So take that, and let's just say we didn't put arcanum. In my preference, arcanum is much better, 35% increase in damage, and whatever else it comes with. If you come into his weapons and you just go straight to, let's just say, Ainobi. So Ainobi is a self-buffing weapon. It brings self-buffing weapon, regen and heal, just like the Garnet Rod. It has boost HP and R ability on it. So already we have 30 points into boost HP, which is 45% HP, better than the costume. And then you've got R ability of 39. If you're main handing then, that's 30% increase. You get more HP, you get the same amount of boost of damage, but you also get an ability with it. And now your costume gives you 35% increase in damage. So obviously this isn't the perfect idea. Sometimes you need certain weapons and you can't fit Ainobi on there. But the idea is that you have 5 slots. Maximize how much you can do with those 5 slots and that costume doesn't become as good. Especially when you start putting weapons like Barret in the offhand. This cannon has 46 boost magic attack and boost ability magic, which gives you 26 points on an offhand, which is 45% increase in damage. So one of the slot weapons does that, plus boost magic at 23 points will give you 15% alone. So it is something to consider when you look at it like that the costumes need something more than just your generic HP up or adding points to weapons that can already do that, plus they have an ability. So always lean towards the costumes that have something unique is better than going for the costumes that have something generic. And to me, both of the Garnet Rod and the Kuja costume have generic. Doesn't mean they're useless. They're still going to work in most setups that you need to mix around things, especially when you're trying to survive with more HP. But when you look at the sense, once your R abilities are fully maxed out, you have OB 10 on all the weapons, that 15 points just gets carried over into nothing. Because once you hit 55, it's done. So, good R abilities, right, for certain setups. But once you start getting farther into the game, it becomes what it is. And Anniversary probably bringing new mechanics, new costumes, especially when you look at the costumes that we have these days. When you look at Sephiroth's new one here, the Dark Attire, you get HP, magic defense, plus an arcanum. You can start seeing where I'm saying that it is not really updated that much. So that's that. And now Kuja Blade. I know you guys are waiting for this one. Kuja Blade, yes, it's a strong weapon. Yes, it will help you. Is it necessary? I don't have one. I had never had one. And I pretty much passed all the content in the game, along with a lot of other people. Does it make the content easier? Yes. Did it make the Turk fight against the trio, right? This was almost a necessary weapon if you didn't have Barrett's cannon weapon. So there is moments, very niche, 5% moments that this weapon super shines. But nowadays, we have more characters that are doing this. Vincent has it. Barrett has it. Probably other characters I can't remember the top of my head. And future characters will. It being limited and them not updating it doesn't mean it's bad, but is it worth going deep for? Having one copy is alright, mid to mid, right? OB6 is where you want to aim for, so you can get to that high, and its R abilities are good. It's just, again, more and more characters are starting to get this as well, but you're a Sephiroth who's sub-DPSing and has a way to lower the enemy's magic attack and physical attack is great, but most of the time, the enemy is immune to lowering their physical attack and magic attack. So Kuja Blade becomes less and less appealing in that sense. It's still a very powerful weapon, don't get me wrong, but that's where we stand. Now, when it comes to Cait Sith, he got a weapon, no costume. Don't like it. I don't like that they're separating costumes and weapons, or they're just bringing weapons alone and you got to go all the way to the 6 stamp for it. But that's where they're leaving the very juicy stuff right now to make you pull in these banners, because the Final Fantasy 9 update to the costumes and weapons is good, but it's not as good as these new weapons. So the megaphone, just one copy alone is going to give you physical attack buff all allies, and it's going to give you physical defense if you're 70% or more HP to all allies. Mid to high, you only need one copy. It's going to give you buff duration and boost attack with wind potency for the guild battle and circle sigil. Now when it's at OB6, of course it goes high and high all on one cast for physical attack and physical defense. It's like the Monster Hunter Aerith, but it gives you physical defense instead of magic defense. It does have buff duration, but only at 26 points. I can't pull it that high, just believe me, all right? And it's got 62 in boost attack. Overall, if they put an all cure here, that would have made Cait Sith way better and now a viable healer with buffing on defense and physical attack. So you could use him as a healer. As a DPS, it works really good, 62 points. In boost attack is maxed out boost attack, a little bit of buff duration of 120% and giving your entire party physical attack up while being a DPS. His critical physical build is very powerful, right? And the fact that he can now put defense up and physical attack up for the whole party makes this a very powerful weapon if you are using the critical build for Cait Sith. As for healing, he doesn't have it. It does have heal on it, and it's got regen. No, it doesn't got regen, but his other weapons have regen, but there's no AoE regen. He does have the guild weapon that raises physical attack and magic attack only to mid, so he does have an AoE buffing weapon. This is more towards Cait Sith that can fully DPS and buff the team at the same time, so support DPS, right? And then if in the future he does get a healing setup, a costume or a weapon that has all AoE cure, this is going to make Cait Sith one of the most powerful healers as well, because AoE buffing on 2 stats. So I think the weapon, everything about it is crazy good, and you're not supposed to look at these weapons like Garnet Rod and this as for your healing setups. These are made for DPS setups, making Cait Sith a very good ally if you use his trumpet setup. So I did make a video on Cait Sith. If you guys didn't see that pull or skip video, real quick, come down here. This weapon right here, you combine it with this weapon. Is it this one? No, that's the one you would use if you weren't getting this new one. So 700% physical, non-elemental, critical chance 30%, one of the highest, and when hitting, it does ×3 damage, right? So this, with that and a crit build, Cait Sith can do some crazy things. So it is a good weapon, but again, it is a limited weapon, so you're going to go pretty deep to get that weapon, but most of us haven't really used our weapon parts for Cait Sith. I'm at 340, and they're going to stack up. Unless he gets a very powerful limited banner during the anniversary, you're probably going to skip on him. So if you did just do like a single pull and get lucky and you got his like 3-star weapon or 4-star, you can use weapon parts to make it a 5-star, and then you just have it. If you do 110 pull, you might get it as well. I think it's a good thing to have if you're someone who wants to risk pulling 3,000, because all these weapons can be used somewhere, and they're all great utility for DPSing or just helping out the party as a healer, sub DPS. So one pull on here won't kill you, and if you're not going to pull for their character in the future, those weapon parts are going to use on this because these are limited weapons, no other way to upgrade it, so it doesn't feel bad upgrading them. So it isn't bad to pull once if you want to get these and then use weapon parts to have the actual 5-star version. In my opinion, and what I'm going to do is I'm skipping all of it. No matter how good it looks, they can't go backwards. They're only going to go forward with banners, so things will only get better and better and better. And if you're not using Cait Sith at the moment, why invest on him? Because it is going to take a lot to get a costume, to get more weapons, to overboost them, wish list, get lucky. So it's hard to invest into a brand new character unless you're ready to dedicate your crystals into that. Overall, I think all those weapons are great, but there's my opinions of why you're able to skip all this because of how the current game is. They will work, but they will be replaced pretty quickly as well too. That's pretty much everything. If you guys want to leave something down in the comment section to add to this or anything I missed or screwed up, always welcome. I try to feedback as much as I can, talk to you guys, right? But for the most part, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Keep on smiling, and I'll smell you later.